Part 230. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 2291. Chapter 2291. Do you feel disappointed? John Lully also held Mo Shixio's hand, turned and walked out. Okay, let's go out too. I can't wait to taste how the noodles our minister cooks for the first time taste. Mo Shixio had a complicated expression on his face. John Lully turned back to look at him. What's the matter? That bowl of noodles is not very good. Why don't I cook it for you in a few days? When I have fully learned it, I will. No need, John Lully interrupted, I just read it and I think it's pretty good. But. Okay, let me try it first and see if it's okay. You've already cooked it, so don't waste it. Mo Shixio looked at her, hesitated, and nodded. Asterisk. Arrived at the dining room. There is steaming hot noodles on the table. John Lully walked over and sat down, and Mo Shixio sat next to him. He watched her pick up the chopsticks, with a rare look of nervousness on her face. This kind of tension is actually much more tense than when he encounters problems at work. When he encounters a problem at work, he will find a way to solve it. No matter what kind of problem he faces, he can solve it in the end. But now, Mo Shixio didn't know much about it, but he was afraid that John Lully would dislike his cooking. She rarely made a request to him, but he didn't do it well, and Mo Shixio would feel guilty in his heart. He watched John Lully take a bite of the noodles and immediately asked, "How was it?" John Lully didn't say anything. After she slowly swallowed the food in her mouth, she nodded and said, "Well, it's not bad." "Not bad? Really? You didn't lie to me," Mo Shixio expressed doubts. "Really?" As John Lully spoke, he took another mouthful of noodles and said with a smile, "If this is your first time cooking, it's really not bad. Although the taste is not very good, it's not bad either. I think it's great that you can do this. The noodles are really not delicious." But this was Mo Shixio's first time cooking, and John Lully really felt good about it. And for her, the heart is more important. Even though this bowl of noodles tasted terrible, she felt sweet in her heart. Such a man. A man who has been pampered since he was a child and has never been exposed to kitchen smoke. For the first time in my life, I cooked for her. This feeling is really precious to her. John Lully said and took a few more bites of noodles. She ate with some reluctance. Her taste during pregnancy was different from usual, and now she is very picky about food. In addition, the bowl of noodles cooked by Mo Shixio didn't taste very good. After a few bites, she felt a little uncomfortable in her stomach. Mo Shixio saw it. While John Lully continued to eat noodles, he reached out and took the bowl aside. John Lully was stunned for a moment and raised his head. "Don't eat any more." Mo Shixio reached out to touch her head and took out a handkerchief to wipe her lips. "If you don't like it, then don't force yourself to eat it. I know this bowl of noodles doesn't taste very good. I originally thought this is a very simple thing, I didn't expect," he said and sighed softly, "I didn't expect that I couldn't even cook a bowl of noodles." "Lully, do you feel disappointed?" "How could it be?" John Lully shook his head. "I told you, it's already very good that you can do this for the first time you cook. Do you know what it's like when I cook for the first time? I almost cooked it. The kitchen was burned down. Mo Shixio, I am really satisfied that you have this intention." End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 2292. Chapter 2292. She is a little afraid of facing other people. John Lully looked at him steadily, with a sweet smile on his lips. "Originally, what I wanted was your attitude, and you did it." Mo Shixio looked at her for a moment, then sighed softly. The expression on his face was a little frustrated. I just never thought that I couldn't do such a simple thing. I also said that I would take good care of you and us. Of children. There is no conflict. It doesn't matter whether you can cook or not, as long as you have the ability to make money to support your family with money, you can solve 99% of the contradictions and worries in daily life. So, as long as you have the ability to make money, that's it. Other additional life skills are all bonus points. It's okay if you have them, it doesn't matter if you don't have them. Amo Shixio laughed. The man raised his thin lips, with a slight smile in his clear eyes. Well, there is no problem with the ability to make money, it is enough for our family to live a good life for a lifetime. The two were chatting and laughing, and Sister Lin walked over with a somewhat troubled expression. Sir, Madam. Sister Lin, what's the matter? Amo Shixia raised his head and glanced at Sister Lin. Yes, Sister Lin nodded. There was a call from the old house just now, saying that the husband and the young lady should go back now. They said it was something important. Actually, Sister Lin had already guessed it. The most important thing is probably Amo Shixio's withdrawal from the general election. This is indeed a very important matter. MRSMO came here and made a big fuss over this matter, which ended up causing a breakdown in the relationship between mother and son. She will definitely not be willing to do so. The entire Mo family has always been very concerned about Mo Shixio's election. If they knew that he would withdraw, it would be impossible not to do something about it. Mo Shixio and Zhang Luli also thought about this matter. Zhang Luli's face showed a bit of uneasiness. Although Mo Shixio repeatedly told her, it was not entirely because of her that she withdrew from the election. But she also knew in her heart that most of the reasons were still because of her. Zhang Luli is not afraid of MRSMO's troubles. Because she doesn't care about MRSMO at all. But she was a little afraid of facing other people. Mo Shixio noticed her uneasiness and nervousness, shook one of her hands, and said softly, "Don't be afraid, Grandma and the others will definitely ask about this matter, and I will explain the reason to them clearly." Zhang Luli still looked uneasy. Mo Shixio, will Dad and Grandma blame me? The old lady and Mo Yunshin both treated her well. Zhang Luli didn't want them to hate her too. No, Mo Shixio reassured, Dad and Grandma are both very reasonable people. As long as there is a reasonable reason, they will accept it. In short, you don't have to be afraid. Don't worry, come back with me. No one will make things difficult for you. Zhang Luli felt uneasy. But there was nothing she could do. No matter what happens soon, she has to face it. Mo Shixia was with her. She believed that Mo Shixia would protect her no matter what. After hesitating for a moment, she nodded, well, let's go back. Asterisk. Mazai. As soon as Zhang Luli walked into the hall with Mo Shixia on his arm, he felt the atmosphere was a bit solemn. She saw Xiao Mian and Mo Yesi also there. MRSMO was sitting next to Mo Yunshin. When she saw her, her face darkened and she looked at her with sharp eyes. Old lady, the eldest young master and eldest young lady are back. Zhang Bo walked to the old lady and stood next to her. The old lady raised her head. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 2293. Chapter 2293. Should you give us an explanation? Zhang Luli didn't look very good when he looked at the old lady. When he looked at her, his eyes were not as kind and gentle as before. Although it cannot be said to be indifferent. But Zhang Luli could feel that the old lady's attitude towards her was not that good. Zhang Luli's uneasiness became a little deeper after feeling the hidden anger in the old lady's eyes. The old lady should be very angry about Mo Shixia withdrawing from the general election. Mo Shixia squeezed her palm, put his arm around her waist and walked forward. He smiled and said to the old lady, "Grandma, did something happen at home? Why are ACI and my siblings back?" The old lady was still angry. Seeing him acting as if nothing had happened and pretending to be confused to ask her what was wrong, she became even more angry. "You asked me what happened? Don't you know clearly? Shishiu, should you give us an explanation? Okay, why do you want to withdraw from the election? You have been preparing for this election for so many years, and our Mahist family has also been preparing for so many years. It is almost certain that you will be elected. But why did you make such a choice at this juncture? Do you know how much impact this will have on the Mahist family?" After hearing the old lady's angry words, Amo Shixio still looked calm. He raised his lips and smiled softly. "So this is what Grandma was talking about, and I thought something bad happened at home." "Isn't this a bad thing?" the old lady said angrily. "Grandma, don't be angry, calm down first," Amo Shixio still said in a calm tone. "Grandma should know that since I was a child, I have my own reasons for everything I do. The same goes for withdrawing from the general election this time. I have my own considerations, and I think doing so is not a bad thing for me or the entire Mahist family. Once the news of your withdrawal from the election became known to everyone, others thought there was something wrong with our Mo family at that time. The Mo family's stock market would also be turbulent. Tell me, why is this not a bad thing? As long as Grandma is willing to believe me, I will give her an explanation." Amo Shixio didn't say much. He glanced at the group of people sitting in the hall, paused, and said, "Grandma, Luoli is usually sleeping at this time. She is sleepy now and needs to rest. I'll do it first. Take her upstairs and explain it to you when she comes down, okay?" The old lady saw Zhang Luli standing there with a bulging belly, and her face was indeed tired. She was silent for a moment, nodded and said, "Okay, you can take her up to rest first. No matter how. Zhang Luli carries the blood of her Mo family in her belly. She still has to take good care of herself now. Luoli, let's go." Mo Shixio lowered his head and said to Zhang Luli, "Go upstairs and rest for a while." How could Zhang Luli not know that Mo Shixio said this because he didn't want her to be wronged? He has said before that he can solve all problems by himself. She doesn't need to do anything. Zhang Luli looked into the man's caring and gentle eyes, nodded slightly, bit the corner of his lip and said softly, "Grandma, I'll go upstairs first." "Well, let's go." The old lady's tone was still calm, but she did not accuse her or mean to embarrass her. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 2294. Chapter 2294, But does she have you in mind? Mo Shixio hugged Zhang Luli and turned around. "Wait a minute," Mo suddenly said. Mo Shixio frowned, turned his head, and looked at Mo with a cold gaze. Mo didn't look at him, but said to the old lady in a cold voice, "Mom, Shishiu withdrew from the election all because of Zhang Luli. She was the one who tempted Shishiu to do this, and now she wants to pretend that nothing happened." "Yes, that's impossible." Mo Shixio didn't expect that Mo was still unwilling to let Zhang Luli go. His eyes turned cold. "Mom, I've already told you that this matter has nothing to do with Luoli. She has never asked me to withdraw from the election. This matter was decided by me alone." "Ha!" Mo sneered, "you have made so many preparations for this election. If it weren't for her, would you easily quit? Shishiu, you are my son, and I know what kind of person you are. Do you dare to swear if it weren't for Zhang Luli, would you withdraw from this election? You are very protective of her, but does she have you in mind?" Mo looked at the old lady emotionally. "Mom, do you know that Shishiu actually wants to sever ties with me because of her? Such a woman is a disaster and will only make the family upset. I will never tolerate her staying with Shishiu." The old lady frowned upon hearing this. She won't believe everything MRSMO said, but she doesn't believe it completely either. She also knew very well what kind of person her grandson was. The sudden withdrawal from the general election is indeed very unexpected and surprising. He wouldn't do it if there wasn't a reason that he valued very much. This incident happened after Zhang became pregnant, so it is not completely impossible for MRSMO to say that it was related to Zhang. The old lady likes Zhang. But this love is based on the premise that she thinks Zhang is well behaved and sensible. If her grandson's bright future was really thrown away because of Zhang, the old lady would no longer think she was sensible. Moreover, if a man has trouble with his mother because of a woman, he has to sever the relationship. That woman is not innocent either. Thinking of this, the old lady's eyes became sharper. Shixiu, what's going on with what your mother said? Do you want to sever ties with her? Mo Shixiu was silent for a while. After a moment, he looked at MRSMO indifferently and said, Grandma, there is a reason for this. Since Mom told you that I was going to sever ties with her, didn't she tell you that she went to my house today? Have you done anything? The old lady also looked at MRSMO. What did she do? Mo Shixiu pursed his lips and his eyes were filled with coldness. She brought someone there and wanted to take Luo Li away by force. She also slapped Luo Li. Grandma, Luo Li is my wife, and she is still pregnant with my child. If she is frightened and something goes wrong with the child in her belly, do you know how serious the consequences will be? The old lady's face changed when she heard this, and her brows furrowed tightly. As soon as MRSMO came back, she cried to her for a long time. She cried about Mo Shixiu's withdrawal from the election and that Mo Shixiu wanted to sever ties with her because of Zhang, even though he didn't tell the old lady what she had done. So at the beginning, the old lady was still on her side. This is why Zhang came back this time and felt that the old lady didn't treat her as well as before. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 2295. Chapter 2295. Don't stand up and cause trouble. The old lady discovered that one side of Zhang face was a little swollen. Wenpei. Is what Shixiu said true? The old lady's face darkened. What do you want to do by bringing someone there? Even if you are dissatisfied with Luo Li, don't you know that she is pregnant now? You can't touch her. Mom, The expression on MRSMO's face suddenly became panicked, and she hurriedly explained, Mom, you misunderstood me. I didn't bring people here to do anything. Have I misunderstood you? The old lady was furious. Tell me, where did I misunderstand you? Do you mean, Shixiu is lying to me? No, MRSMO said with an ugly face. Mom, I brought people there, but I brought people there because I wanted them to take Zhang abroad. I don't think she is suitable for raising a baby in China. It will be much better abroad. I did it for her own good. MRSMO lied forcefully. She was unwilling to cooperate and didn't recognize my good intentions. I had no choice but to force someone to take her away. As for that slap, MRSMO bit her lip, turned her head, her sharp eyes fell on Zhang, gouging her out like a knife. That's what she deserves. That slap is to teach her that she shouldn't interfere in things in the future, so don't intervene. Mom, shouldn't I hit her? MRSMO said with a confident expression on her face. She did something wrong, and I, as an elder, taught her a lesson. When I was young, I did something wrong. Mom, didn't you teach me a lesson? You said back then that if you do something wrong, you will be punished. Now that I'm here, it's no longer possible. Xiao Mian had long noticed the problem on Zhang face. At first, she didn't think about being beaten or anything. After all, she also felt that even if MRSMO was dissatisfied with Zhang, there was no way MRSMO would do anything to Jongluli because Jongluli was pregnant with her child. She didn't expect that Jongluli would be hit on the face by MRSMO. Knowing that her best friend had been beaten, Chiao Mian couldn't control her anger. She let go of Mo Yesi's hand, and walked up to MRSMO with eyes full of anger amid the astonished eyes of a group of people. MRSMO was stunned when she saw her coming angrily, frowning and said, "Chiao Mian, what do you want to do?" "Mom, you knew that Luo Li was pregnant with the child, but you actually hit her. What is your heart made of? How can you be so cruel and heartless? As an elder, it doesn't matter if you don't love and protect the younger ones. Luo Li, she is carrying her eldest brother's child, your future grandson. How can you hit her? You've really gone too far." Chiao Mian's accusations made MRSMO confused. After a few seconds, when MRSMO came to her senses, her face turned dark. She was embarrassed and angry. "You want to fight for Jongluli? Chiao Mian, I am your mother-in-law and your elder. What are you doing? What an attitude. This matter has nothing to do with you, don't stand up and cause trouble." Chiao Mian was not afraid of her at all. She felt heartbroken when she thought of the slap Jongluli received. Her family, Luoluo, did not live a very happy life in her original family. Now, she finally has someone by her side who loves her and dotes on her. Her life has finally gotten better little by little, but she has been wronged by MRSMO again. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 2296. Chapter 2296, Let Chiao Mian be left alone, it's not the one who accused her. Pregnant women are inherently emotionally sensitive. That slap from MRSMO must have made Jongluli feel particularly aggrieved. Her face was red and swollen like this, which showed how strong MRSMO's slap was. At this moment, Chiao Mian really hated MRSMO. This hatred was even greater than when MRSMO prevented her from being with Mo Yesi. Her best friend was bullied, which was even more intolerable to her than her own being bullied. Luo Li is my best friend. Now that she is being bullied, this matter has something to do with me. If as an elder you don't behave as an elder should, then we juniors don't have to respect her. Is you? After Chiao Mian finished speaking, she did not look at MRSMO, who looked like she was about to faint from anger. She turned around and looked directly at the old lady sitting in the front. "Grandma, Luo Li is my best friend, and so are we. The people who know each other best. I can guarantee that it was not Luo Li who asked him to do that. It would be unfair to put all the blame on Luo Li alone. Grandma should know that the emotions of pregnant women during pregnancy are very important. Now that Luo Li has suffered these grievances, someone is still holding her and refusing to let go, and wants to hurt her. Grandma, you must seek justice for Luo Li. Luo Li was lucky this time, nothing serious happened. What if?" Chiao Mian took a deep breath, paused for a few seconds, and then gritted her teeth and said, "If there is another time, if she is not so lucky, the consequences will be unimaginable. Last time, Luo Li, an eldest brother, made it clear that she would not go abroad. But why did Mom keep saying that she was going to be sent abroad? I heard that Mom brought a group of bodyguards, and Luo Li was. I was so frightened that I hid in the study, and the group of bodyguards kept blocking the door and knocking on it, trying to force the door open." Chiao Mian became angrier as she spoke. With an angry look on her face, Mom said she had good intentions. "But I really want to know, is it really good intentions to scare a pregnant woman like this? If Luo Li was frightened, what should I do if something goes wrong with the baby in my belly?" Every time she asked, MRSMO's face became uglier. because she felt that Jiao Mian was not asking the old lady, but her. What made Mrsmo the most angry was that Mo Yesi, who was standing aside, had no intention of stopping him at all. She actually let Jiao Mian go. It was not the one who accused her. Zhang Luli gave Jiao Mian a touching and grateful look. She felt that she would be good sisters with Jiao Mian in her next life. Having such a close friend in life, this life is enough. Jiao Mian helped her, and she must have offended Mrsmo. After hearing Jiao Mian's words, the old lady's already frowning frown became tighter and tighter. She also heard the seriousness of the matter. It is true that as Jiao Mian said, pregnant women cannot be frightened. Once frightened, problems can easily arise. She and Mrsmo have both been here before, so they must know this. So the hateful thing about Mrsmo is that she knew what the consequences might be, but she still did it. This is no longer concerned about the fact that Zhang Luli is pregnant. Or maybe she thought about it, but she didn't care. More likely, she just wanted to cause problems with the child in Zhang Luli's belly. Thinking of the last possibility, the old lady's eyes gradually showed anger, and her voice became stern. Wenpei, you have indeed gone too far. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 2297. Chapter 2297. This punishment is actually quite light. I really didn't expect that you would be so ignorant. In the past, I would just turn a blind eye when you acted nonsense, thinking that nothing big happened, and I didn't bother to care about you. It seems that it was because I was too lax before that I made you do things more and more excessively and become more and more wanton. You are so wrong this time. Mom, Mrsmo was not willing to admit her mistake. She was anxious to explain. Before she finished speaking, the old lady interrupted her angrily. Shut up, what else do you have to say? I've tolerated you so many times, and I won't tolerate you any more this time. After hearing this, Mrsmo's expression changed. Mo Yunchen's face also changed slightly, and he hurriedly wanted to speak for Mrsmo. Mom. Shut up, too. The old lady was angry now, and her own son couldn't help it. It's also your fault that she's like this now. If you hadn't blindly protected her and indulged her, she would have been able to has it become like this. I have told you a long time ago that women can be pampered, but not too much. As long as you listen to a few words, Shangguan Wenpi, I will not rely on your favor and do things more and more without scruples. Mo Yunchen's face turned green and white for a while after being told by the old lady. I don't dare to refute yet. The old lady continued to scold him angrily. If you can withstand pampering, it doesn't matter how much you dote on her. But if you continue to dote on someone who can't stand pampering, you are harming her. Your wife is yours, and so is your temper. You pampered me, and now if something like this happens, you can't escape responsibility. You should take your wife back to the room now to reflect. When will she realize her mistake before she comes out? If she still doesn't realize it, then she should stay in the room and never come out again. How could Mrsmo be convinced? She shouted, Mom, this is not fair. Everything I did was for the good of Shixiu and for the good of our entire Mo family. Why don't you punish Zhang Luli, but you punish me? You are partial. The old lady looked at her indifferently. You almost made a big mistake. If I don't give you some punishment, I don't know what you will do next time. I think you are just restless and can't calm down. After a while, I will ask Uncle Zhang to give you a copy of the Buddhist scriptures. You can sit back and think about it for a while, and copy the Buddhist scriptures carefully for me. What? Mrsmo opened her eyes wide. The old lady continued, just copy it once for the time being. If you still don't realize your mistake, copy it a few more times. Okay, go back to your room, I don't want to see you right now. This punishment is actually quite light. Mrs. Chemo still couldn't accept it. She is the mistress of the Mo family. Now, in front of so many servants, she was punished. Once she accepts her punishment, how can she have the dignity to stay in this house in the future? Moreover, once she accepts the punishment, Zhang Luli, the foxy girl, will definitely feel proud. She must not lose face in front of this vixen. Mrs. Mo stood still, her face full of anger, and pointed at Zhang Luli. What about her? Since she has done something wrong and needs to be punished, how is mom going to punish her? This has nothing to do with you, the old lady said angrily. I asked you to go back to your room to reflect, did you hear it? Is it because I, an old woman, have no use speaking now? End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 2298. Chapter 2298. Are they all crazy? Mrs. Mo looked stubborn. Mom, this is not fair. If you punish me, you must also punish her. Otherwise, you are partial. The old lady was very angry. The crutch in his hand was thrown directly towards her. Upon seeing this, Mo Yunshin hurriedly stretched out his hand to pull Mrs. Mo aside, and the crutch hit the place where Mrs. Mo was standing just now with a pop sound. Mom, don't be angry, don't make yourself so angry. Mo Yunshin saw the old lady so angry that her chest was heaving violently. He grabbed Mrs. Mo and stood aside, lowered his head and said to her, Wenpei, you stop making trouble and make mom angry. Mo Yunshin, what do you mean? Mrs. Mo was usually spoiled by Mo Yunshin and had never suffered any grievances. Now that she was accused by him, she suddenly felt extremely aggrieved. She stretched out her hand and pushed Mo Yunshin. She glared at Mo Yunshin with angry eyes and said, why are you telling me to stop making trouble? I'm not making trouble. Your son has ruined his bright future because of that woman. Don't you think so? Are you ready to say something? Mo Yunshin was pushed back 2 steps. After he stood firm, he frowned. I believe Shixiu will give me an explanation. Wenpei, no matter what, you did this wrong. No matter what happens, no matter what, you shouldn't do anything to Xiao Luo. Are you even standing on the same front with them? Mrs. Mo looked at Mo Yunshin in disbelief. Do you even think I did something wrong? Mo Yunshin, you are not my husband anymore, how could you do this? For me. Mo Yunshin, you bastard. Mrs. Mo was furious. Because she found that no one in the whole family seemed to be on her side. Everyone is saying that she did something wrong and blaming her. Now, even her husband, who loved her the most, said she had done something wrong. For a moment, Mrs. Mo felt like a helpless wretch. The whole family is against her. Are they all crazy? They all helped that foxy Zhang Luli. Mrs. Mo originally thought that she could force Zhang Luli and Mo Shixiu to divorce based on Mo Shixiu's withdrawal from the election. She also thought that the old lady would definitely support her. Because the old lady also attaches great importance to this election. As long as the old lady's help is available, the matter will be more than half successful. She planned everything well. But now, why has everything changed? Everything didn't go as she planned. Not only did no one support her, she also became a target. Why does it become like this? Why? Mo Yunshin frowned more and more when he saw her acting like this. He was thinking that maybe he really spoiled his wife rotten. He remembered that Mrs. Mo was not like this before. She has always been a gentle and considerate person, like a flower that understands language. Now, this interpretation flower seems to have changed. Except for the face, it still looks exactly the same. It is really nothing like his previous gentle and demure wife. His face could not help but turn cold. Wenpei, look at what you look like now, how decent you are. Mom is right, you really need to reflect on it. Mo Yunshin, what did you say? Mo Yunshin stepped forward and grabbed her hand. I will take you back to the room. No, no, I don't want. Mo struggled. Mo Yunshin, what are you doing? Let me go. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 2299. Chapter 2299. How could she become like this now? If you keep making trouble like this, I will be embarrassed if you keep making trouble like this. Mo Yunshin also had a look of anger on his face, and regardless of her struggle, he forcefully dragged her upstairs. Mo Yunshin, let go. Are you crazy? Let me go. I don't want to go up. Mo Yunshin, you bastard, let me go. I did nothing wrong. Everything I did was for the good of this family. Why don't you believe me and treat me like this? You keep that broom seeing, you will only drag down our Mo family in the future, and you will regret it. Let me go, let me go. Mo's image was completely gone, she was yelling and struggling desperately. The hair that had been combed into a bun fell apart during her struggle. Her hair was disheveled, and the expression on her face was almost crazy, which frightened all the maids. Madam looks so terrible. Just like crazy. The old lady frowned more and more when she saw Mo's appearance. She shook her head and said, "What a shame. What a shame." The dignified eldest lady of the Mo family actually made such a fuss like a shrew in the market. Fortunately, there are no outsiders here, otherwise, our Mo family's face would be completely lost. How could she become like this now? The old lady's words were full of dissatisfaction and undisputed anger. This is all what Yun Chen is used to. I've told him before that you can't love your wife without a bottom line, otherwise this woman will become arrogant because of her favor. Will only become more and more ignorant. If he had listened to me earlier, would the situation have ended up like this? When the old lady said this, she looked at Xiao Mian and Zhang Luli with a hint of warning in her eyes. Although she was blaming Mo. But these words also seemed to be a warning to others. She could see how much her two grandsons loved their daughter-in-law. Although her two grandsons-in-law have not shown any ignorance yet and appear to be well-behaved and obedient, there is no guarantee that they will become like Mo in the future, which would be terrible. The Mo family has already given birth to a Mo. There must be no second or third one. Thinking of this, the expression on the old lady's face became serious. She glanced seriously at the two pairs of grandchildren and granddaughter-in-law standing in front of her. She said, half to remind and comfort, and half to warn, Shisiu, ACI, you guys, you should take your parents as a warning and never let Luoli and Mian become like Wenpei. When I get old, I don't expect anything, I just want to live a peaceful life. This time, my old bones can't bear it. I don't ask you to be more filial to me. As long as my ears are clearer, I will be satisfied. Grandma Mo Shixia lowered his eyebrows and whispered softly, what are you talking about? I believe that whether it is Luoli or his younger siblings, they are all reasonable girls. The things that Grandma is worried about are absolutely irrelevant. It can't happen. Don't worry too much, old man, and take good care of yourself. There will be many days of happiness in the future. Yes, Mo. Yes, he also said, Grandma, when the baby in my sister-in-law's belly is born, won't you have a great-grandchild to hold? In a year or two, Mian and I will give birth to you too. When the little great-grandson comes out, I'm afraid you won't even be able to hold him. Why are you thinking about bad things? You should think more about happy things. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 2300. Chapter 2300. There must be no second or third one. Speaking of her great-grandson, the old lady's face overflowed with a smile of relief. What's the use of just talking? You need to take practical actions. The old lady was coaxed into feeling much better, and she glared at Moyesi with a smile. I will definitely be able to hold your eldest brother and sister-in-law's child. As for you and Mian, Grandma, you can definitely hold it, Moyesi said. First, it's not that difficult. Do you think your grandson can't even give you a little great-grandson? Didn't Mian and I tell you this? I will definitely give you a great-grandchild within 3 years. You, old man, should first practice with your eldest brother and sister-in-law's children. When Mian and I's child is born, you will have more experience in taking care of it. What experience do I need? The old lady glared at him again, but there was a smile in her eyes, showing that she was in a good mood. Isn't my experience in taking care of your father and second uncle enough? Besides, no matter what happens in the future, your eldest brother's child is still your child. I only help occasionally, but it's mainly you who take care of it. It's best for this child to stay with his parents. Yes, Moyesi also said with a smile. We don't have the guts to bother you, old man. So Grandma, you must keep your health, so that you can have the energy to take care of your little great-grandson. Hey, I get it. How could the old lady not know that her 2 grandchildren were trying to make her happy? Actually, she was quite happy without MRSMO causing any trouble. Thinking about it now, she doesn't have anything to worry about. The lifelong affairs of the 2 grandchildren have been settled, and there will soon be a great-grandson to bear. The Mo family's family business is also prospering and getting better and better. Everything is developing in a good direction. Although the days were dull, they were very happy and made her feel very satisfied. Except for the fact that MRSMO would get into trouble every now and then, she felt her life was almost perfect. But it happened every now and then, which gave her a headache. And this time, MRSMO made the most outrageous fuss. This is also the time that made the old lady feel the most angry. The old lady had a headache when she thought of MRSMO. Fortunately, her 2 grandchildren are well behaved and sensible, and they can make her, an old woman, happy. Forget it, let's not mention the unhappy things anymore. The old lady saw her 2 grandchildren working so hard to make her happy, and she didn't want to dwell on those unhappy things anymore, so she said, Shisiu, didn't you say that girl Luoli is sleeping? Why don't you take her back to the room to rest? Yes, Grandma, let me take Luoli to rest first. As for that matter, I will explain it to Grandma later. The old lady nodded. Go ahead, I'll wait for you to give me a reasonable explanation. Mo Shixiu nodded, helped Zhongluli and turned around to walk upstairs. After a while. After Zhongluli and Mo Shixiu left, the old lady looked at Jiao Mian and Moyesi, who were still standing in the hall, waved to them and said, you don't have to stay here anymore, just do whatever you need to do. Jiao Mian hesitated for a moment, bit the corner of her lip and asked softly, Grandma, are you angry with me? The old lady was stunned for a moment. Are you angry with you? Yeah, Jiao Mian nodded. Grandma, do you think I disrespected my elders just now? I shouldn't have talked to my mother like that. But you don't have to explain it to me. End of this chapter.